Hey, how's it going? Welcome to the very first ever TCP one-on-one. Today it's going to be myself, BioDevil Dom, joined here with Mr. Captain Chaos. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, what's up, guys? Captain Chaos is he kind of just sort of dropped on me, so but I'm
Yeah,
gonna try to my best at saying what I'm expecting from this year's E3. I have some high hopes, and then for other companies, I don't have quite as much of a quite as high expectations. Let's just say that.
right. So essentially for today's TCP one-on-one podcast here, we are going to be talking about E3 2017 predictions since E3 is pretty much right around the corner. We're almost
Yeah.
in June, like very early June. We're at the tail end of May, so it's kind of good to start talking about this. So I'm gonna kind of let you go first. What do you expect from E3?
Well, I'm gonna pretty much paint myself as a Sony fanboy by saying this, but I expect the most out of Sony.
Mm,
Mostly what I've learned from at least from Sony's side of things is that apparently their show is going to go over the time limit they have, so that says to me they have a lot to announce, which is always exciting because that should be what E3 is about. You know, just new games, new IPs being revealed, and mostly my number one thing that I'm most excited for with Sony is for them to talk more hopefully about either Shenmue 3 or a Shenmue HD collection. The HD collection I'm a little bit more iffy about. I don't think that well then again I was iffy about Shenmue 3, but who knows? I'm very much I'm trying to contain my expectations as to being more realistic because I think it's more likely we'll get some kind of huge update for Shenmue 3 than it is about, we get any sort of an update for, or anything about the HD collection, really. But I'm mostly,
really?
that's my highest, that's really like my highest expectation. Basically like my most anticipated announcement is just anything regarding Shenmue 3 because 2015, like E3 2015, the Sony show was just fucking crazy and I don't think they're going to be able to top that show this year. But I mean, who knows? But I hope
Yeah,
that at least they come close.
yeah. You never know with these shows because like one minute they could be like, oh well, nothing's really going on because you watch something like EA or Ubisoft, which we'll get to those in a
FIFA,
moment. But you're right, FIFA, sports and TV, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So you never know. I'm actually kind of surprised because I figured you would have been a little bit more like optimistic at the possibility of Shenmue HD being
Um,
announced.
I'm not. It's not that I'm not optimistic, but I'm trying to stay, like I said, realistic because I don't know. Like I feel
Mm.
like an HD collection. Um, I don't know. Like I just don't feel like it's quite as likely to be announced as it is just more updates on 3. I think like what would be the most reasonable thing to me would be, if they release 3, well when they do release 3, like 3 gets a lot of attention, it gets a lot of people buying it, and then maybe further on in the future they release the HD collection. Maybe it's not going to be that far off in the future, I don't know, but that would make sense as to, they sell a lot of copies of Shenmue 3 and then, they get more people interested in the series. So then they would be able to do, Shenmue HD collection. But I don't know. I'm not in the industry, but
Right.
that's the most likely scenario. But I don't know.
If you don't mind me interjecting really quick,
Yeah,
I actually feel as though it'd be a lot more likely for an HD collection to be announced alongside new information for Shenmue 3. And only because, you could think that, well, maybe Sega is handling the HD collection as opposed to Yu Suzuki and his team, and they could be
possibly.
handling Shenmue 3, right?
Yeah,
And it could just be like something like, okay, so while you all are waiting for Shenmue 3, we can bring out Shenmue HD because I think it was there was something about a site being leaked and then the trademark for it being renewed
Oh,
for
right, I
a
remember.
Shenmue HD.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it would be likely. But that's a whole nother discussion for a whole nother time. I'm gonna let you
Yeah.
continue on with your lists. So
Um,
please do go ahead.
but yeah, I mean, like, the other thing that I'm looking forward to is just more information, like mostly just stuff that has been announced in 2015, like Death Stranding. That like I want to know a little bit more about that because we've only gotten some trailers with that, and we haven't really gotten any gameplay or any early alpha gameplay or anything like that. So I kind of just wanted a little bit more information about that. The new God of War, I'm kind of iffy about that too because I don't think there needs to be another God of War, but who knows? It could be all right, but I mean, I'd still want to see a little bit more about that. I don't really know what in terms of like Sony's announcements, like what else there really is, at least in terms of like new projects that they're working on, aside from what I've heard about E3 2015 and just what I know is coming out or is kind of on the horizon. I know that there's apparently going to be a lot of stuff they're going to announce, but in terms of like hardware, just new software, like new IPs, I'm not sure. But that is definitely like my most anticipated show. As for the other companies, I just don't like Nintendo, Microsoft. I know that like Microsoft, I'm just gonna have to say this: Microsoft is gonna have to really just give us something because I mean, other than just controllers, because all we've seen from them is fucking like controllers and the Scorpio. Like that's the most anticipated thing I think about Microsoft is at least is just the Scorpio. Aside from the Scorpio, I don't know if there's anything they plan in terms of like games. Let's just put it this way. I don't care if the Scorpio ends up being like better than the Pro. That doesn't matter to me because all I care about is them announcing more just games. And
like where are the games at?
Yeah,
because that's what we want to know. It's
I don't give a fuck.
I would like to support Xbox,
and I know how some fans are going to be. They're going to blow that out of the water and say that that's like the best thing. If the Scorpio ends up being like it turns out that it's you see gameplay and it's like it's amazing. It's 4K 60 frames. It's the best thing ever. But it's like I don't care because there's nothing on there I want to play, right? But they're going to take that and just say, well, that's, Microsoft won because they have a console that's like really super powerful. And it's like, that's cool, but all it can play is just multiplats. I mean, other than that, like, the only thing that I could see them announcing maybe is like, and I don't think 343 is even has this in the works. I haven't heard anything about this, but like Halo 6, which I don't think is going to happen for a while because I've heard.
I don't even think they're bringing it to E3. Actually,
yeah, I don't think there's going to be anything about that. I don't know. Like, there's nothing from Microsoft that I really know about that's that I think they're going to really like bring up at E3. The only thing, like, because I'm just going by current trends, and what they've been doing is the only big thing I can see them doing is like a remake or a remaster of something that we already have. That's the best thing I can see them, bringing to us. And hopefully, if they do that, it's not just another Master Chief Collection or something like that.
But people want. I think it was like Halo 3. People really wanted.
Halo 3.
And they're like, "Nah, you ain't getting that. Sit the fuck down. You ain't getting that."
Yeah, which is stupid. Like, I don't know. Like, it seems like just lately, from what I've been seeing in Microsoft, is like anything that the fans want, let's just deny them that. Let's not do that.
For sure.
And like that, I don't know. Honestly, I hate to say it, but I expect more from Nintendo. I don't like what they're doing with the Switch. Personally, I wouldn't buy it, and I don't plan to buy it anytime soon. But that's what E3 is about. Like, I want them to give me a reason to, at least in the near future, to buy their fucking console. Same with Microsoft, really. I want them to give me a reason to fucking buy it, because like right now I have none, and I have no reason to buy the Switch, especially with all the technical issues that the Switch has.
For sure.
Even and the thing with Nintendo is, even if they do end up announcing games, it's like, how about you announce some kind of a fix for your fucking console? Like, how about we start there before you start announcing new games? How about you fix your console first? Because there's so many issues with that. Like, how am I going to be able to play a game without having to have an issue and not have to worry about maybe or maybe not getting a replacement because you're fucking.
Absolutely. And then I'm not. I don't mean to interject here, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you heard, but Square Enix was recently talking about how the new Dragon Quest game, they are kind of in talk, or they're not really talking about it due to some adult suggestive themes for the Switch version.
Oh, you
Um,
mean Dragon Quest Heroes or just Dragon Quest?
I don't know if it was Heroes or if it was just the new Dragon Quest, the other new Dragon Quest, because I know there was like that and an actual.
I mean, if they had a Dragon Quest exclusive to the Switch, that would be cool. But I know they had like Dragon Quest Heroes on the Switch, and that game ran like ass on the Switch. So.
Oh yeah, visually it just did not look.
And they
well
also had to
by
downgrade the visuals.
Yeah. By comparison, visually it just did not look as good as the PS4 version.
Mm-hmm.
But before I transition and kind of go on with my expectations, any sort of expectations for like third-party companies not related to Sony, Nintendo, or Microsoft?
Not that I don't know. There's not really anything I can think of that I know or expect them to announce. It'll be a surprise to me, whatever the third parties. Okay, so I can kind of go off of what like Far Cry 5, like we've heard about that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they talk a little bit more about Far Cry 5 with Ubisoft. As anything else, I'm not too sure. I mean, I know obviously it's a fucking joke, but EA is going to talk about the FIFA, and they're going to talk about the Madden, and that's pretty much a given.
Yeah, and then maybe some Battlefield 1 expansions.
Yeah,
right?
Battlefield.
okay.
Wait.
Right?
Yeah, and they could talk about Battlefront, the new Battlefront that they announced a little while ago. They could talk a little bit more about that. That's probably what they're going to talk about. With EA, with other companies, I'm not really sure. I think Bethesda. Yeah, we were talking about Bethesda before we started recording this, and I think you were talking about the Evil Within 2, that being pretty high, high potentially, a potential announcement for them.
Yeah, and I'll kind of discuss that more once I start talking more about my expectations.
They could talk about like just their new engines they're using, possibly their tech demos, stuff like that. As opposed to like new games, I'm not sure. I only have like maybe one or two, but as I'm not sure what else they're really going to announce. So most of what they announced this year is going to be a surprise to me because I only know about a few things that is coming up. They could talk about some games that are just on the horizon, like with Sony. There's the Uncharted Lost Legacy or whatever. We could see like maybe some gameplay for that because that's in September. And then there's the Crash Insane trilogy with Naughty. I think it was Naughty Dog involved.
Well, actually, that's Activision.
Or was it Activision?
Yeah, because Activision is publishing it. I forget
probably see some gameplay with maybe the Insane trilogy. Some other games that I can't really think of. There's not really any huge releases coming up. I think we've seen most of the really big releases this year so far. I mean, obviously there's still stuff that it's gonna kind of come out that I don't know about yet. But so far we've seen some most of the really huge anticipated releases have kind of already come and gone. So I'm not really sure what else there is. Maybe just some stuff later on in the year they're going to talk about. Some stuff maybe next year. More than likely next year though.
All right.
Right, yeah. Destiny 2. Forgot completely. I was about to forget. Fucking Destiny 2.
That's how forgettable Destiny is.
Yeah, I know. The first game was such a memorable experience. So Destiny 2...
I could sense the sarcasm.
Yeah, like, I didn't even play it. I've seen other people play it. I've heard about it. Honestly, I don't care. Destiny 2 is just from what I'm hearing, it just sounds like it's more of the same. And that's not really surprising to me. I think Bungie's working on this. I think it was Bungie.
It's Bungie is working on it. Activision is.
I remember seeing the cover when I first heard about this game and thinking it was the most bland thing I've ever seen from the cover because it was just a guy with a gun. And I can't count the number of times we've seen that cover. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm gonna kind of take over from here, if you don't mind, and kind of start talking about my expectations. I'm going to actually talk more about some of the third-party companies, more so than the first-party. To be quite honest, I really could care less about Nintendo and what they're doing. It's just I don't even think they have a dedicated E3 showing. They're just doing a treehouse like usual, and it's like, okay, whatever. What I'm expecting is just your typical Nintendo stuff, talking about Mario, Pokemon, or Zelda, or whatever first-party franchise they want to talk about that they just do all the time. Maybe some stuff about the third-party games that they have coming. And really, that's about it. But it's all just going to be stuff that I'm just not interested in because I can't get it in other platforms or on other platforms, rather. It's kind of the same reason why I just, I'd love to play something like Bayonetta 2, which was on Wii U, but, I'm not going to get a Wii U just to fucking play the game. And that kind of applies to a lot of the titles that are coming to the Switch for me. Microsoft, I think I have the same stance on them. If they were to turn around and be like, showing us like all these sorts of games that are actually coming to the Scorpio and actually giving myself and a number of people on the TCP a reason to actually look into purchasing a Scorpio or even an Xbox One and looking to actually game on something that is Microsoft related this gen, they really have to show off games and games that are interesting, not just these, generic games that nobody cares about or everyone's kind of played to death and they're just kind of fatigued from those franchises. I'm talking about new IPs that we just cannot get on Sony's platform or Nintendo's for that matter. And in Sony's case, I just kind of overall, I expect kind of like what they've been doing for the last couple of years, where it's like we get some good stuff. The lineup will be kind of it will be interesting, or it will be just kind of like, oh well, 25% of this was interesting, the other 75% is like, part of it's indies that nobody really wants to talk about, but they kind of shove it in the middle of the show, or titles that I personally don't have any interest in, but I'm sure others will. So that's just kind of what I'm expecting. Not to say that Sony's shows aren't always good, because sometimes like the 2015 and the 2015 show, and also just their PlayStation experience, which was a couple of months ago, if I'm not mistaken, that was really good. So, who knows? Maybe they'll surprise me on E3. But I want to talk about here. I want to talk about Capcom, because I hate to shit on Capcom. I really do. But at the same time, they make it easy, and I'm expecting the worst of the worst for E3 this year. I'm expecting them to come to E3 with like 75% DLC, whether it be for Resident Evil 7 or for Street Fighter 5, 20% being MVCI, that being the only new game they'll show off, with the 5% chance possibility of Resident Evil 2 Remake being announced at E3. Only because and the only reason why I'm saying Resident Evil 2 Remake being announced is last year they came out and they announced Resident Evil 7, so the likelihood of the remake being announced at E3 is there. It's just whether or not Capcom's actually going to do it. But I am expecting the worst of the worst. I am expecting most of what they're going to show off is just DLC for games I don't care about, that I think, whether they be in a genre that I just have no personal interest in, or a game that I just genuinely think is just a piece of shit. It's just stuff like that. And then I want to move on to Bethesda. So we've been getting hints for quite some time now about The Evil Within, with the most notable one being a job listing for The Evil Within 2. And now there's this whole rumor going around that maybe the title that Bethesda's hinting at, because they have been hinting at a new title to be announced, it might just potentially be The Evil Within 2. And I genuinely hope so. I hope they come out at E3 and just announce The Evil Within 2, announce that, they're going to be coming back and improving on everything that the first game kind of started, fixing a lot of the issues that people had with the first one.
Make the traps, really not be cheap.
Yeah. Yeah. But pull back the fucking camera when aiming, please, for the love of fuck. Yeah, because I actually replayed that game recently. But yeah, I think just I'm like fairly certain that this game is going to be announced. Aside from that, if it's not going to be like expansions to games they already have, I can see maybe like remasters for other games, or maybe something new potentially, or just because I think they're also doing Quake Champions, right? So they might
I think
show
so.
off new gameplay for that.
I'll probably have more Elder Scrolls Online announcements though.
Right.
Shit nobody cares about.
So yeah, and then just to kind of move on, Ubisoft, we already know Far Cry, Assassin's Creed. I'm not really, I don't really care.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like Assassin's
After they
Creed,
said they'd stop doing it on like all the fucking time, you know, like.
Mm-hmm. No, I will say, I think it just what they're gonna do is, and I don't know if they had any announcement trailers for Far Cry 5, but I think what or any like official release date, but I think what they're gonna do is they're just gonna announce these titles. You know, give us an official like reveal trailer, maybe. Well, it's not gonna be a legitimate gameplay trailer because they always water down the gameplay. Yeah, it's gonna be a teaser gameplay trailer, which is gonna be actual fake gameplay that's not gonna look like that.
Yeah, not look like the final product.
But I think what they're gonna do with that is they're gonna show us those games. They're gonna give us a release date, but it's not gonna be like previous games where they came out like either in the same year or like early in the following year after it's been announced. I think it's gonna be sometime after. How much time I don't know, but I do think that maybe this is going to be a time where, you know, even though they're announcing these titles, they are going to give us some breathing room to kind of like anticipate these games and for them to actually like have some time to work on them. So I guess that's something to wait and see. I hope they do some more Tom Clancy stuff though. Like maybe we can get a new Splinter Cell, or hell, like I mean, I don't know if they ever plan on going back to like Hawks, but you know, they could maybe do a new fucking Hawks with VR support. But you know, that's just wishful thinking. I think like for the most part, it's just going to be the typical Ubisoft stuff. You're going to see another Just Dance. You're going to see another Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and just hoping for anything else but those. And then there's also South Park as well, I guess.
Oh, right.
But just hoping for anything else but those, you're just going to be disappointed. With that, Aisha Taylor and just a shitty show all around. You're just gonna you're gonna have like random dudes in gimp suits running around.
Yeah, I remember that. That was the weirdest fuck.
Right. Almost as weird as the VGA music shows that they were doing at the VGAs.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. EA. Like, you know, we were talking about this earlier in sports with maybe some Battlefield 1 expansion, you know, talks, because I know they just hinted at or announced a new expansion coming, and then Battlefront 2. That's all I'm really expecting. But it's gonna. I'm pretty certain it's going to be one of the most boring shows.
Well, wait. We forgot about the PC gaming show. I think that's going to be the most boring.
Yeah, we did. We did indeed. I don't think I've watched the PC gaming show at all, actually, so I have no opinion on that.
Actually, most of the time, like I think, do they even talk about hardware? Because I don't think they talk about I think they occasionally talk about hardware.
I think what they do is they talk about hardware, but they mostly talk about games that you can already get on PC.
Yeah. It's a lot of indie. I remember I saw some of it last year, and it was really fucking boring. I think they have very low production values for that show. There's just a guy in a fucking seat just sitting there and talking to this one guy who's like an indie dev or something about his indie game. And there's just a lot of indie games on the PC game show too, which is it's just really fucking boring. So I don't know, like, yeah. But yeah, PC gaming show. We can just disregard that. It's
Yeah.
not important.
So yeah, because we're kind of running a little bit shorter on time.
Yeah.
So I actually, one thing I forgot before we do wrap up though, I do want to talk about Sony really quick with the final or not final, but yeah, it is the final topic rather. They have I don't know why I'm saying a lot. They have a post show actually happening as well. So they have an extended show happening.
Oh, we're talking about Sony again?
Yeah, we're talking about
okay.
Sony. I don't mean to bring this back to Sony, but I do want to talk about the possibilities of what this post show can be really quick. So just my personal thoughts before I let you go. I think it's just going to be either, if it's not just going to be more information on games they've already shown off, we might get some like information or even gameplay or trailers or whatever. We might actually get a few more announcements that they didn't have time to show off in the first showing. So I think that leaves some room for more stuff to be talked about for things they might not have had time to talk about in the first show.
Oh yeah, I mean I agree. I think that's pretty much what it is. I don't know. Other than that, I don't know what it could be. So I assume it's just going to be, like you said, a show for them to talk more about the games that they didn't have time to talk about, or just expand upon games they had announced during E3 that they didn't have enough time to talk about during their show. So I mean that's the most likely thing that it is. Other than that, I don't know what else they could talk about in that. Maybe they could surprise us with something, but I don't know. I mean, Sony surprised us quite a bit in 2015, so who knows?
Perhaps. I mean, it could also be a thing where it's like, the extended shows to talk about, like, perhaps future updates coming to the PlayStation.
All right, yeah. I didn't think about current. Yeah, I mean, I'm more thinking about, like, stuff they're planning to do in the future, not so much, like, current things. But, yeah, it could be that. I think if anything, this is more just me giving them a suggestion at this point. Like, what they really need to do is just completely revamp the PlayStation Plus service, because right now it is just fucking terrible. Like, well, I mean, I know that next month they have actually decent games announced for free, so they are kind of stepping up with that. But like, I would like to see some changes there, and just maybe like I guess they would talk about like software updates, maybe for like PlayStation and stuff like that. Like, maybe like redesigning the PlayStation Store, or just stuff they plan to do in the future in terms of their like software. So that's likely as well.
Yeah, I think, there's so much possibilities with this extra show. I mean, we could be like overthinking it, obviously, because just
it might not be anything.
Here.
I mean,
right? Yeah, just something to stress here. This is just predictions. It's like none of this could actually turn out to be true. We could be like 100% wrong on this, but I think with this particular topic, with Sony in particular, I think it just
I forgot I was gonna bring something up real quick. Sorry to cut you off, but
there's just I think there's just a lot of possibilities, but I'm gonna let you kind of take over.
Okay, but do we know if Konami is having a show? Like, I have to ask.
With PS and mobile games, that's exactly what's going to happen.
I almost like I want to see if they have anything more about fucking Survive. Like, I want to see.
Ren's gonna gift me that game, guys. He's gonna make. I
want to see if they have any gameplay, because I want to just laugh my ass off at it. Like, that's the only reason I want to see if Konami's having a show, just to laugh at it. Because
I'm just gonna sit here and be like, oh look, it's all the gameplay we should have had in 5, but with zombies added on.
Metal Gear Solid 6 set in a fantasy world. Where Snake is a black magic like fucking wizard.
What the fuck? Okay. So this has been a great TCP one-on-one podcast we've done. This is the first of hopefully many, but we are going to try to keep these kind of shorter than the main podcast. So that all said, we hope you all enjoyed. Captain Chaos, where can we find you, good sir?
You can find me on both YouTube and Twitter at Captain Chaos. Yep, that's about it. and Ask. I have an Ask, but nobody pays attention to it.
Oh yeah, nobody pays attention to mine either. It's okay. Yeah, you can find me at YouTube and on Twitter and on Twitch as biodevil_Dom. Although I don't really go on Twitch anymore for some reason. I keep procrastinating on streaming. That said, we hope you all enjoyed the show, and we hope to see you soon in the future. See ya.
Yeah, see you all later.